I thoroughly enjoyed that lesson, and to see how engaged the students were with it, and to see the opportunity of team teaching. Because many times you don't see team teaching at the high school level, and to see how you and Intense coordinated and moved around the class, and also exchanging of tasks, you know, giving the instructions and the tasks, that was great. And the kids, the students looked like they thoroughly enjoyed what you were doing.
Yeah, no, I'm very fortunate to have Intense as a poet mentor educator, and we've been working together long enough to be able to feed off of each other's energy. And yeah, no, I'm again very fortunate for that one, and so are the students. They really do love him.
Yes, and so in the focus that you wanted to do, let's look at 2.1 that you wanted to look at, and then we can go over the observations, those components that supported that. So 2.1, we were looking at creating and maintaining an effective environment for student learning.
Right.
And so you wanted to promote social development and responsibility within a caring community.
Right.
Okay,
right.
where you student.
And so, yeah, because initially we started off on exploring and applying.
Which stated what?
Yeah, so it says students participate in occasional community building activities designed to promote caring, fairness, and respect. So I do believe that I still satisfy this, but now I need to see if I've really moved forward. Of course, I didn't get to finish the lesson, and I know that the end product will bring about probably another jump on this scale. Students demonstrate efforts to be positive, accepting, and respectful of differences. I do believe that we're there. I mean, the way that they were paying so much attention, you know, and actually there was clearly quite a bit of compassion within group members as others shared some pretty deep, troubling experiences. Am I at the integrating though? Students take responsibility resolving conflicts, and wow, okay, so you know what? One event today I can think of specifically, I don't know if this is as a result of my instruction. Matter of fact, I'm almost sure it's not. But I can say we're at the integrating stage, partly because of how those young ladies dealt with that issue when obviously one of the group members went down a path that was rather dark and difficult for her to deal with. They comforted her as she broke down and went outside and resolved the issue, so much to the degree they came back in the class and got back to work. And I was blown away by that right there. And I do not like seeing girls cry at all. But I guess a little sick part of me realized as she was crying, we're building a stronger community.
Yes.
As they walked out there with her to support her, I thought, I'm meeting this goal, but I don't care about meeting the goal for me. I'm really glad to see what the real result is. That was pretty powerful.
Yes, and then I guess she was reading, I guess, a portion of her poem, and then she had to go out again, and then one girl went with her.
Okay.
But if that be the case,
Right.
how do we wouldn't even expect the evidence to come up that way.
Right. But that was evidence,
was
right?
evidence.
Yeah, and that, I feel like I would have been a little, today that was important.
And so as you look at creating a community, what else did you see that was a thing of growth that you liked?
A thing of growth that I liked amongst them was the unexpected leadership roles that some of them assumed. It makes me realize that it's almost not fair to ask the students to work independently all the time, because you're only bringing out one type of student. But when you allow them to work in the group setting, you're bringing out a whole nother type of student. And a group setting where you only periodically monitor them, not hover, just periodically monitor and then let them do their thing. From what I was able to see, yeah, that was certainly an area of growth. There were a couple of task managers who impressed me, speaking up, getting their group back on task. So I think delegating the roles for within the group, I've always had struggles with group assignments because I never did assign roles and it wasn't clear. But assigning roles made all the difference. So yeah, I'd say seeing the students step up to the expectation of the role they were assigned was an area of growth that was evident that I didn't even expect.
And I like how when you're giving an instruction, then you make it clear when the time starts to start on that instruction, and then transitioning out of it and letting them know that they're getting close to the end of the time to have whatever the task is done.
Right.
And so keeping the momentum of the class moving,
Right,
not
right.
getting stuck. Like the few groups that were not completed,
Right.
we're still moving forward,
Right.
and giving them that time to do that. So that was real good. Those transitions and moving, keeping the class moving. And so as you looked at that, what are some of the areas that you feel that you can tighten up more?
I think I need to really look at tools for transitioning and systems for transitioning between tasks. I'm going to have to tighten up my discipline in the classroom a little bit. I don't need to write referrals or detentions because I don't do that, but they need to understand that when one action is done, that this reaction is expected. For example, as part of the ITQ program and the SAYS poetry class, Intense brought in some of the guidelines and the norms and practices. And one of his practices to get their attention, as you heard him say today, was if you have something to say, then the students respond by saying, say something. And that's a very useful tool. But yeah, transitioning between tasks, that makes me itch. I get really uncomfortable when I lose even 30 seconds and I didn't have to. So yeah, that's definitely an area for growth. And I even made note to myself. More efficient systems transition between tasks. That's a must. That's a must.
So as you were going around and monitoring how the students were doing, did you go by the focus students to see how they were progressing in the activity?
Yeah. I definitely checked on one of them more frequently than the others, and that was Angel, the special population student who actually I identified as needing a little more checking for understanding and monitoring. He was doing well. He was doing well enough in the vocalizing of responses to the questions. The synthesizing the responses from his classmates into a poem was a little more challenging for him. But again, Angel is a new transfer into my class, and he has not had the full semester of poetry exposure that the rest of the class has. So I think it'll be a matter of time before he gets comfortable with that. The other young man that up front that I met with a couple times, Elias, he seemed to be doing just fine. He seemed to be working with a group that was complementary to his calm demeanor. It wasn't a loud, rambunctious, overwhelming group. Instead, it was one that was casually and calmly holding the conversation, which very much complemented his style, and he seemed to be doing just fine. And lastly, the focus student, Tiajane, sitting in the back, she was one of the young ladies who was offering comfort and consoling the girl who had to leave the classroom because she was crying. So, but yeah, I checked with her a few times, but that was less about the lesson and more about the situation that they dealt with.